receiving mails. If it is a web server, the service it is providing is sending web pages of a particular website. If it is a FTP server, the service it is providing is downloading and uploading certain files. So every server has got a specific service that it is providing to its service users. So when we connect to the servers, we are service users. So Linux can allow or deny access to various resources depending on the service. So there is an inbuilt firewall facility in Linux. Even in Windows also, they have a inbuilt firewall. But the fact is, Windows firewall, as per my understanding till date, it is not a very much good use, because I have seen there are viruses, there are threats and attacks that are happening on Windows system. And earlier there was a Microsoft Security Essential in Windows 7, and later they have modified it and renamed it with Windows Defender. But still, I think it is better to have a specific third-party antivirus or firewall software installed in your Windows system. Do not rely on the inbuilt Windows Defender that is there. But in Linux, definitely they also have a inbuilt firewall feature, and what we call is we can create policy by IP tables. So in Linux, the firewall is more stringent, as the codes are totally different and the attacks are very less in Linux system. So definitely, Linux can be used for securing certain servers or securing certain data. So it can allow or deny access to various resources depending on the service. So whatever the service that has been configured in the server, so only those services will be allowed. Like in a mail server, we have specific services, like you may have heard or may not be, like SMTP server. It is SMTP service, simple mail transfer protocol, and it is used for sending mails. And when there is some incoming mail, so the protocols are IMAP and POP3. So these are protocols. So when we access a mail server, we are actually accessing only these three services: SMTP, IMAP, and POP3. We are not accessing HTTP protocol. We are not accessing HTTPS. We are not accessing FTP or any other service that is present in the server. So every server has got specific service allowed to its users. So you will not see service accounts in Ubuntu desktop version. This is one information. Like in the desktop version, you will not see service account, because a desktop is meant for single user. You can definitely have multiple logins, but multiple login is different, and service account are different, which are generally available only in server versions. And regular accounts are called standard accounts in Ubuntu desktop. So what are the regular accounts that we call in Windows? So these are standard accounts. So in Windows, as I told, that there could be administrator account, standard account, child, and guest account. So generally we see three of these: administrator, standard, and guest. But again, one more type could be child. So so this is an image of the different folders that you will see. But here one information that we need to share is, in Windows, you must have observed that we cannot have two files with the same name. If you have two files or two folders with the same name, either in capital letters or in small letters, you cannot have same name on two files. But in Linux, it is case sensitive. You can have two files with the same name if you are using the name with maybe different characters. So one could be with a normal small case character, another could be capital letter. So you could have two files or three files with the same name if you are combining. Like in Windows, you will get a message like this: do you want to rename a new text document to report to? So if you try to have two files with same name report in Windows, you will get this type of messages. But in Linux, it is possible to have two files with the same name, because Linux is case sensitive. So here an example has been shown here, if you can see in this image. So four files has been created, and four files are having the same name, sample. But if you look in the name format, so one is totally in the lowercase, one is with the first letter in lowercase and the other letters in the uppercase, The third one is in a normal general syntax, the first letter in uppercase. And the fourth file is having all the letters in uppercase. So in this way, in Linux system, you can have multiple files with the same name, changing the letters into uppercase and lowercase, because Linux, it is case sensitive, and you can create multiple files with the same name, which is not possible in Windows. And regarding the home directory, so home directory is the directory where whatever accounts you create, maybe you have account in your name, and again you have account in your uh, colleague's name if it is in your office environment, or it could be another account, or you have multiple accounts for multiple purposes. One is for administrative work, and you have another account for some other task. So all these accounts are generally created under the home directory. So there is a root directory, and under the root directory there is a home directory. So any user account details are being created under the home directory. So here an example has been shown that someone is creating an account called Jerry. So actually that account information comes under the home directory, the root, and then under the root there is home, and then there is a Jerry. So in Windows it is like under C there is a document settings, and then sometimes we see under C there is a user folder, and within the user you have the details of the user. So similar to that, it is inside the home directory.
In
So
Windows, the thing is backwards. The
yeah,
okay, I didn't realize
yeah,
that.
yeah. So generally it is in Windows we mention this backslash to identify. So it is like the root directory, but here the concept is not directory, but like in LAN also, when we access one PC to one PC from another PC, so we go to start run, and there we give two backslash, and then the IP of the other PC whose files and folders I want to access. So it is like it is providing you an access to the administrative level of that drive. So if you give a backslash, it will give you the administrative access of C drive. Okay, so that's why we show it with the backslash here. So in Windows system and program files are usually saved in C drive, but in Linux, you would find the system and program files in different directories. For example, so it is being shown here with a pictorial diagram. So you will see that within the home directory, or within the root directory, you will see multiple folders are there in a Linux system. If you have the GUI, like in Ubuntu, you will see there are multiple folders. Like I have already told, there is a bin folder, there is a dev folder. So what is the functionality of this folder? It has been shown here. So bin is a folder which will carry all the information about the programs that are installed on your Linux system. The boot files are there in the boot folder. If you have some optical drive, so those information will be there in the CD-ROM. And in the device file, so dev is nothing but a device file. So it will have information about like your hard disks information, as well as some other hardware that you connect with your operating system. Any type of configuration files you will get within the etc. And home directory is named as home, and there are shared library, lost and found. The media files are found within the media folder. And when we need to mount and unmount some pen drive, so the term we use is mount and unmount. So like in Windows, we plug in and we eject the pen drive. So it is mounting and unmounting any external drives. So so these are certain folders that cater to certain purposes, like
Uh,
TMP is for temporary files. Yeah, go ahead.
the MNT, are you talking about like the ISOs and all that? Is that what the MNT is for?
Yeah,
The
if it's a ISO file, generally it doesn't open normally. So in Windows also, you might have seen in Windows 10, if there is a ISO file in your pen drive or any drive, so if you right click on the ISO file, it shows you with the option called mount. So once you mount it, then only you able to access the files and folders within the ISO file.
so
.iso.
so in Unix, you don't have to mount it, you just have to put it in the folder.
If the file is there in your pen drive, so definitely you need to plug in the pen drive, and then maybe if that file is visible, so you need to mount it with some command mount, and
Oh,
then the
okay, so
file
you
name.
still have to mount it. You can't just place it in the
Yeah,
folder.
yeah.
You still
So
need
with
to.
that
It's like in cloud, if you have a storage device in the cloud and you want to work with your Linux, you have to mount
Got
that
it.
storage in the cloud. That's something
Yeah.
like that.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking maybe that you could just put in the folder without mounting it. I guess I couldn't do that. Never mind.
Okay. So generally we call it mounting and unmounting when we add certain devices with the system. So these are key differences that we have discussed here about Windows and Linux system. I'll be providing these files so that you can access. So we are coming to some next topic now. Just a moment. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So probably some of you who have already Linux installed in your system, so you may be knowing this, but there are other in this class, maybe who have not used Linux and they are very newbie. So for them, I would like to show you some basic operation that we can do on a Linux system. So here, the screen that you are seeing, it's of Ubuntu Linux, Ubuntu 20.04, the latest version that is available in the Ubuntu website. So probably most of you know how to install Linux. Explain how you can get Linux in your system.
Yes, please, because I can
Yeah,
set up
I think
new.
I think we should do that. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
you
okay.
might not.
Uh, so some of you who are experienced, maybe they have already Linux, so you already know it. But for others, I need to explain how you can get Linux in your system. So there are many ways. Let me share one file. So uh, we can install Linux with different ways. Can you see my notepad?
Yeah.
So there are different types of installation available. So the first one is what we generally do is called a standalone installation. So it is an installation that we do on the hard disks of a computer. Like we have generally Windows 10 or any version of Windows. So the entire hardware of my computer is being used by Windows 10. So it is only a single operating system that is right now present in my desktop or laptop. So that type of installation where you have a single operating system on your hardware, whether it's a desktop or laptop, so that is called standalone installation. It is only Linux will be there in your system. No other operating system will be there. So this is one type, which we generally do with certain steps, like we need to have the ISO file in a CD or DVD, or maybe nowadays people are not using CD and DVD. They are using pen drives. They are making some bootable pen drives. They are creating bootable pen drives, and from there they are loading the operating system into the hard disks. So once the operating system is installed into the hard disks, then there is no need to use that pen drive every day, because the operating system will be there in your hard disks. It will be loaded like Windows operating system. It is already there in your hard disks. So Linux will also get loaded into your hard disks. So every day when you power on your device, so automatically the Linux desktop will come up. So this is one way. uh, Second way is we can have dual booting, something we called is dual booting. So dual booting is again a process some of you already know, but for freshers, it is to mention that you can have multiple operating system in your system, in your computer. So maybe you already have Windows 10. You are having a Windows 10. You can have a Linux side by side. So that is called dual booting. Even you can have Windows 10 and Windows 7 uh, together. But the thing is, you have to have separate partition on your hard disks. Like if your computer is having a single partition, only a C drive is available. So you need to have separate drives, like C drive. There should be D drive, E drive. So there should be multiple drives so that you can install the first operating system, let's say Windows 10 in one drive, one partition. It's in, I can call it partition one, because when you log in the Windows 7, again the partition will be shown as C drive. So that's why I'm not writing C drive. So it could be partition 2, where you can install Windows 7. Again, if you have a combination of Windows and Linux, you can have Linux installed. It could be Ubuntu, or maybe Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or any Linux of your choice. It could be in partition 2. Either you can choose Windows 7, or maybe if you have separate partition, so you can have even partition 3 also. So there you can install your Linux. So this is called dual or multiple booting. So we have in dual booting, we have multiple operating system on the same hardware, multiple OS uh, on the computer. So this is called dual booting or multiple booting. The third option that I will be discussing here, and I will be showing you so that anybody can easily install in his system, whether he have a partition or not. Even if he doesn't have a partition, if he is only having a single drive, that is C drive, then also he can use Linux. So that is called virtualization. With virtualization technique, you can use multiple operating system within your primary operating system. So let's say you have Windows 10 installed right now in your computer. So that is your primary operating system. So let's say it is Windows 10. So within in Windows 10, you can install some virtualization software. So there are many virtualization softwares available. Uh, so you can install some virtualization software on your computer, on your Windows 10. So some examples are, one is a renowned one called VMware, and another one is from the company called Oracle. So Oracle is a company which creates database management software. So they have a product called VirtualBox. So students generally use these two softwares, either VMware. Again, VMware is a brand which have enterprise level of software. It's not only VMware Workstation Pro that we install. So we generally use the Workstation Pro version, in our computers, but they have enterprise version. Like big corporates and big MNCs, they use the enterprise version of VMware where you can create multiple guest operating systems. So Windows 10 is your primary operating system, and you can have you can call it a secondary operating system, or generally
Oh,
we term it. Yeah, go ahead.
so I could actually have like Windows like like the old an old Windows 95 in the back. I just
Yeah.
have a couple. I have a couple 95 programs that don't work anymore. That's all.
Okay. So you still have some fascination to work on 95.
Well, I have a couple. I have a couple programs that don't work anymore on the
Okay.
They went like past a certain version. They don't. They're really old uh photo manipulating programs. It's not that important. I actually liked using it. It's a lot. It's very old.
Okay.
It's-
So in that case, you may face some challenges. The challenges is right now the version that is being provided by VMware or Oracle, maybe your 95, I don't know. We need to do a little bit of research that 95, the OS ISO image that you are having, whether it will be supported by the latest version of VMware or VirtualBox. Otherwise, there are many websites where you can get the older version of VMware, older version of VirtualBox. So in that case, if it is not supporting, you can try once with the latest version. If it is not supporting, then you need to do a little bit of research that which
okay.
version is supporting Windows 95. So in that case, you need a little bit of time to get it installed.
Oh yeah, no problem.
So in primary operating system, let's say we have Windows 10, and Windows 10 is the operating system that is there in my desktop or in my laptop, by which I'm doing my day-to-day work. I'm doing internet, I'm doing Word, Excel, PowerPoint, I'm viewing files, I'm viewing movies. So this is my primary operating system. So within that operating system, I will install some virtualization software. So I have named a few: VMware and VirtualBox. So I will install these virtualization software within my Windows 10, and there, after installing this VMware or VirtualBox, within that VMware software, I can install guest operating systems like Ubuntu, Red Hat Linux, or maybe Windows 7 or 95, as you told. We can try installing those things. So in that case, the benefit is like some student or maybe a fresher, he is trying to have his hands on a new operating system, but he is not very sure that whether he will be comfortable with the new operating system. So if he goes for standalone installation, the first option that I have discussed here. So in that case, his existing operating system will be removed. It will be totally deleted, and a new operating system will come up on his hard disk. So all the files and folders needed to be taken a backup. So if you have some important files in on your Windows, you need to take some backup, and then you need to go for the new operating system. And all so you will lose your existing operating system. It will be deleted entirely. So that's why this is not recommended if you want to just have a practice on a new operating system which you are not very sure whether you will be comfortable or not. You are just testing. Maybe some task has been given to you to do a project on a particular operating system for maybe 10 days or 15 days, and you don't know whether you will be working on that operating system anymore after the project. So in that case, virtualization is the best option. With virtualization, without hampering your current operating system, without hampering the files and folders that are there in your current desktop, you can easily use a secondary operating system, a guest operating system. And even if I go for dual booting, then also if you have multiple partitions like C drive and D drive, so in C drive you already have Windows 10, and you are planning to install Windows 7 or Ubuntu in D drive. So in that case, maybe if it's at the very starting initiation phase when you install the Windows 10, if you install the second operating system in D drive, that is okay. But if you have already used the Windows 10 for 3 months, 4 months, and 5 months, definitely you have collected certain files and folders. You may have downloaded, or maybe you have copied certain files and folders which are there in your D drive. So you need to clear the D drive. You need to take the backup of all the files and folders that are there in the D drive. So you need to have a empty drive in order to install a second operating system in case of dual booting. So if you do not clear the drive where you are going to install the second operating system, all the files and folders will be deleted at the time of installation of the second operating system. So that is also a problem, that in the mid of some work, if you are being asked to add a additional operating system in the next partition in the D drive or E drive, you need to take backup of all the files and folders which are already present there. Otherwise, they will be deleted. So in that case, the best option I suggest is virtualization. So with virtualization, you will not need to take any backup of your current file. You do not have to worry about losing your files and folders. Even after a few days, if you find that I am not very comfortable, you can easily uninstall this guest operating system, this Ubuntu, Red Hat, or Windows 7, whatever it is. You can easily uninstall it. So it will just work as a application, like we run Google Chrome or Firefox or something. So it will act like an application within your primary operating system. So your primary operating system will be there as it is till now, and you will have a secondary operating system as a additional application. So this is the best solution. And other than this, the fourth option, as I think Chris is working on AWS, right? Or maybe I'm wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So as Chris is working and he has done some certifications. So the other way of installing is cloud installation. So this is called cloud installation. So where even if you do not have a sufficient hardware in your system, so sometimes we have a interest on a certain operating system, but when we see the system requirements, maybe my current hardware is not sufficient for installing that new software or that new operating system. Maybe I have a very lower end hardware right now, maybe with 4 GB RAM or i3 or something, and I'm trying to install some server version or something which need a more better hardware configuration. So in that case, if you have a cloud facility like Amazon, AWS, so the service is AWS. It is provided by the company called Amazon. Microsoft also has a service called Azure. So Microsoft Azure. Even Google has a service called GCP. So these are the top three brands that are right now leading in the market, and they have a very good competition among themselves. But there are many other brands. If you go and search for cloud services on a Google search, you will see 10 to 15 brands are there. But these three brands are the most popular, and they are globally recognized. And AWS and Azure, I think they are working neck to neck. So these three brands are most popular. So definitely these services are paid services, chargeable services. But again, like in AWS, they have a 12-month free tier option. So but there are certain limitations also. They call it 12-month free tier, but actually they calculate the hours. So if you have a server in Amazon AWS with a free tier service, you just need to create an account on Amazon AWS. You will need to provide a debit card or a credit card details. They will not deduct any money from your credit card or debit card right now. But the thing is, they will start calculating that the server that you have made in the AWS, whether it has run for a certain period of time. So they have a 12-month and a certain period of time, maybe 600 hours or something. I cannot remember right now. So you can get that information in AWS site if you wish to have a account in AWS. So there you can create some virtual server. So this cloud installation, with cloud installation, you will get a virtual desktop. We generally call it VM, or sometimes we term it VPS. Uh, so these are nothing but virtual systems. So virtual PC we can call it, or virtual system. So you can create a virtual installation on the cloud, and you will be provided with some login credential, and you will be provided with some public IP. So they will provide you with public IP and some root username and password. So some username and password. So like Chris told that he used a software called Putty. So Putty is a software which is used for accessing SSH service. SSH is a protocol that is called Secure Shell, which is by default not available in Windows. In Windows, Secure Shell service is not available. That's why we need to take help of a third-party software like Putty, and there are many other software like another could be Terraterm and many other softwares that you can use to have a SSH connectivity with some Linux system. So if you have a cloud installation, you do not have to bother about doing a partition. You do not have to bother about taking backup of your important files. You just need maybe an account in Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, and you can log in there. There are certain steps you need to follow them, and you can easily create a Linux desktop, or maybe if the Linux server OS is available, you can also install Linux server OS there in the cloud, and you will be provided with some public IP and username and password by which you can access the server anytime from any place uh, through the internet. So this is the fourth type of installation. So for our class, I will suggest that those of you who have not done any installation previously and who are not very technically sound, so the best way of installation is going with virtualization. Uh, so in that case, if you have a Windows 10, you can download a VMware Workstation Pro. So let me show you how and where we can download it. Let me share my screen. So I think all of you are having Windows 10, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And Marcel, you are also having Windows 10.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm showing you the
Is it
steps
a
by which.
question? Is it a preference if it's a VMware or VirtualBox?
Yeah, I'm showing you with the VMware.
Okay.
If because you have not used VMware on VirtualBox earlier, right?
I've used VirtualBox maybe
Okay, okay.
a
You
long
have
time
used
ago.
virtual.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
So if you wish, VirtualBox can also be used. So I'm showing you the VMware first, then I will be showing you the VirtualBox also. Okay.
okay, thank you.
So for VMware, you can just do a Google search for VMware Workstation, and the latest version of Workstation, that is, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So the latest Workstation version is version 16. So if you just search for VMware Workstation, if you can specify more like Workstation 16, because this is the latest version. So you will, the very first link that you will get is download VMware Workstation Pro, and it is from the official website of VMware, that is vmware.com. So you can click on this link. So you will be taken to a page, as you can see here. It is the download page. If I scroll down a little bit, so here you can see this Workstation Pro is available for Windows, for Linux. Like if someone is having a primary operating system as Linux and he wants to install Windows within the Linux, so then he can download Workstation for Linux and he can install it within his Linux system. But here we are doing the other way. We have a Windows 10, so we will download this one, Workstation 16 Pro for Windows. So just below that, you can see there is a download now button. So you need to just click on the download now. And when you click on download now, so immediately a file download has been started in the left hand side bottom corner. Can you see my screen? Marisol, can
Yes,
you?
yeah, I can see
Yeah.
it.
So if you click in your system also, you will get this file. If you click on the download now, immediate that file will start downloading. So I'm just canceling it. So once the file is downloaded, you will get a exe of the file, and you just need to double click on the file. Nothing to change. Whatever the default settings will be there, you just need to keep them as it is and click on next, 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 and finally it will be installed, and there will be a finish button. You need to finish the installation. So it is not very hard. You can try once. If you still cannot do it, maybe I will show you some more steps on that. So after installing your VMware, you will get icon like this. uh, Let me show in my desktop. So can you see my desktop?
Yes.
So you will get an icon like this, VMware Workstation Pro. So once you get this icon, that means your VMware Workstation has been installed successfully. And then if you double click on it, so you will get an window like this. Can you see this VMware window?
Yes, I can see your screen.
So once you click on that icon, you will get a window like this. And within this window, you can see there are three boxes. One is create a new virtual machine. Second is open a virtual machine. Third is connect. So here we will select the first one, create a new virtual machine. So you will need to click on this. So once you click on this, a box will appear like this. Can you see a box has appeared? A small box has appeared in front of the screen,
Uh-huh.
and it is written that typical recommended. So for right now, I will say keep it as it is in the typical and recommended settings. When you will be more experienced, you can use the custom one. But right now, I will advise that keep it as the typical and recommended, and click on next. So once you click on next, you will see there will be three options. The first one is installer disk. That means it is asking for some CD or DVD where the ISO file of the operating system is there. And the second option, it is a section by which you have, if you have already have a ISO file, you can show that path uh, by clicking on the browse button. You can click on the browse button. So the next thing that I will show you is how to get a ISO file. uh, those who already know, it is very known to them. But since you are new to this, so I will also show you how you can get a ISO file.
Okay,
So
thank you.
this installer image file I have downloaded from Ubuntu's official website. Uh, so it is a 64-bit. So do you know what is your current operating system bits? Is it 32-bit or is it 64-bit?
64-bit.
Okay, so you need to download this Ubuntu 64-bit from the Ubuntu's official website. I will again show you the link. And if some people sometimes get some issue with this step, then there is a third option by which we create a virtual hardware with certain amount of RAM and certain amount of hard disk space, and then we'll later on try to install the operating system. That is a rare case, but in your case you need to select this second option and browse and select the ISO file that we will be downloading within a few seconds. So after you select that, uh, then this so next button will get activated. And let's say, so this next button will get activate at that moment, and you need to click on the next button, and then maybe you will be asked with some username and password to create, so that the new operating system could be installed. So let me show you how you can get the ISO image file from the Ubuntu website. So I'm opening my browser. Can you see my browser?
Yes.
So like we have to answer we have to download two softwares. One is the VMware software, that is the VMware Workstation Pro for creating the virtualization environment, and the second one is the ISO file. So for ISO file, you can just do a Google search of Ubuntu download, and with the keyword Ubuntu download, the very first link that comes up, it is from the Ubuntu's official website, ubuntu.com. So you can click on Ubuntu desktop. So it is asking to accept the cookies. So once you click on that link, you will get a page like this, download Ubuntu desktop. So as I told, any operating system has got two versions. One is a desktop version, another is a server version. So this is the desktop version that we are talking about. And the current version of Ubuntu is 20.04. So I'm also having this version, LTS. The word LTS has got a meaning. It stands for long-term support. LTS means long-term support. So if you download LTS, you will get updates, periodical updates. Like in Microsoft, in Windows, we get periodical updates if it is a licensed Windows operating system. Similarly, in Ubuntu also, you will get periodical updates till 5 years, until 2025. So this is the facility they are providing with no charges. It's free of cost. So here is a download button in the right hand side, if you can see. So I need to click on this download button, and they have another version also, 21.04, but this will not update. It is an ultimate version, and it is a full and final version. You can download this also, or otherwise you can download the first one that I have downloaded and used. So you can click on the download button. Once you click on the download button, so this page will come up. Thank you for downloading. And maybe yeah, so can you see in the left hand side corner, some file is getting downloaded, some Ubuntu ISO file is getting downloaded. So if you click on that download button, you will also get this Ubuntu file downloaded into your system. So the file size is 2.7 GB. So if you have a good internet connection, you will be able to download it faster, or maybe it will take a little bit of time. So it is a 2.7 GB file, the ISO file. So this is one time download. You do not need to download later. You will need to download it on the for the first time. And the Workstation Pro was, I think the size was around, if I click, it was maybe 60 or 70 MB. If I click on this, yeah, it was 621 MB. So the Workstation Pro size is 621 MB, and the Ubuntu size is 2.7 GB. So these are two files that you will be needed to download. So once you download, then in the VMware, you will need to select the ISO file. You need to keep the ISO file in a particular drive, in a D drive or E drive, and then you need to select that drive so that it could be loaded in the VMware. And as you told, you were using VirtualBox. So for VirtualBox also, you can download the latest VirtualBox. So we can search for VirtualBox download. And this is the official website, virtualbox.org. You can click on this, Oracle VM VirtualBox. So some people are comfortable with VirtualBox. Some people are comfortable with VMware. So it's up to you. You can use any of the things. But sometimes when we are hovering our mouse between the primary operating system and the secondary operating system, so some people face some issue with maybe VirtualBox. So it's more smooth in VMware. But otherwise, you can definitely, whichever is comfortable to you, you can use that. So here you will get a download button. So this is the download page, and so if you need some older build, they have an option called older build, and if you need the current
Oh.
one, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So the older one might have the Windows 95 on it.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was talking about. So maybe you can try with the current one. If it is not working, then maybe you need to do a little bit of research. There are many forums who have similar type of problems. They discuss on those forums, so you can get some idea that which version will be compatible. If you get to know which version is compatible, then you can go on these older builds, and there you can click on the older builds, and you will see the, yeah. So these are older builds, 6, 5, 4, 4.0. So this much older version are available. But again, this is the official website. They are showing you till VirtualBox 4, but there could be some other website also where even some more older version, even some version, if there were some version before 4, like VirtualBox 3 or 2, you can get those version also. Maybe not in the official site, but there are many websites available. You need to do a little bit of Google search, you will get that. So in your case, since the operating system is very old, Windows 95, so first you try with the latest one. If it works fine, then nothing is of problem. So it's a very good one. If it doesn't work, then you will have to search for the older version. So, so in the previous page, I was showing that going in this download page, here it is written VirtualBox current version is 6.122, and like in VMware also, there were two options, one for the Linux system and one for the Windows system. So here also they have categorized that whether I need to download the VirtualBox for Windows or Mac OS or Linux distribution. There are certain distribution called Solaris. So I will click, since I have a Windows 10, I will click on Windows host. So whenever I click on the Windows host, you can see in the left hand side corner bottom, the file download will start. So once it gets downloaded, so I would recommend that if you have an older version of VirtualBox installed in your system, the first thing you should do is uninstall that older version, so that there should not be any conflict with the newer version, because sometimes the machine becomes slow with the older and the newer version together. So the first thing, if you do not have any important thing there in the older version, so it's better to uninstall the older version and install the new version freshly. And within that version, again, you will get such options that I have shown in VMware. There will also be some create virtual machine option, uh, through which you have to select the ISO image and you have to create the virtual machine. So you can try it once. If you do not become successful, let me know. I will give you some steps so that you can follow and you can easily install. And there is one more way by which, even without downloading ISO and installing and following the steps, there are some readily available VMware images available on certain sites. So I can show you that also. Like for Ubuntu, if I search for Ubuntu VMware image, so this is the third option. uh, there are some ready-made image available of VMware. So in that case, the steps that I showed to you a few seconds back, that you need to click on create virtual machine, you need to select the ISO image, those parts are not required. You just will download the VMware image and you will double click. But the thing, one point you have to remember is you need to have the VMware software already installed in your system. So first thing is you need to have the VMware software already installed, and then you need to download the VMware image. Once the VMware image is downloaded, no need to follow any step. Just double click on the VMware image. There will be a VM file or VMX file. You will just need to double click and automatically the setup will be done. So this is second way I'm showing you. You need to have the VMware or VirtualBox already installed, and then you need to download the VMware image. So Ubuntu VMware image. So it is from the official site. So this is one more site called osboxes.org, Ubuntu virtual machine images for VirtualBox and VMware. So I'm clicking on this. The website is osboxes.org. So even just below this link, there was one more link. I'm again showing you. This is the link that I'm clicking, but just below this, there is another link. If you can see this is Linux VM images. Okay. And here it is written Ubuntu 18.4, though it is not the current version, a little bit older, but again, they have a current version also. If you scroll down a little, Linux VM images, it is version 20.4, and for VirtualBox and VMware. So they have both type of images, VirtualBox images also, as well as VMware images also. So you can click on this. So the website is Linux VM images. And here in this page, we need to scroll down a little bit. So there are download links, as you can see. In the left hand side, it is written VirtualBox image 3.1 GB. And the right hand side is VMware image 3.3 GB. This link is faster download. It will download faster. And this link is a little bit slower download. So if you click on this VirtualBox image, and if you have VirtualBox already installed in your system, so I'm just clicking on it. So it has gone to a website called SourceForge. SourceForge is definitely, it's a trustable website. You can trust it. They do not spread viruses and other malwares. So download will start within 5 seconds. So you will have the download. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. So as you can see, the download has started in the left hand side corner bottom. So once this download is complete and you already have a VirtualBox installed in your system, you just need to unzip the files. Are you aware of how to unzip files, Marcel?
Yes.
So you can right click on that single file and unzip it on any folder. And there you will get a single file. You just need to double click if you already have the VirtualBox installed. So double clicking on it will uh, automatically set up the Ubuntu PC for you. So this is the most easy way. One is downloading the ISO file and following the steps, and other is having some ready-made VMware images or ready-made VirtualBox images, and you just need to have the VMware or VirtualBox already installed. And after downloading this image, just need to double click, so it will take the setup automatically. So this is the most easiest one. I think if you try this, probably you will be able to install Linux in your system without any problem. Still, if you face any issue, I will again maybe guide you with certain steps so that you can install it. So with these steps, we have today learned how to use Linux in a normal environment, in a normal Windows platform. If we are having some Windows operating system and we don't want to have a partition, separate partition, or maybe I'm not having a separate partition, or maybe I'm having a partition, but that partition already have some important files and folders, and I do not have any external hard disks or any external backup device where I can take the backup of all the data. Maybe it's a huge volume of data in the second partition, that is D or E. So in that case, the best option is to install a virtualization software like VMware or VirtualBox, whatever is comfortable with you. So you can download that software, and you can download the ISO file from the official website of Ubuntu. If so, Ubuntu is the very, as I told, it's the most popular one. So you will be learning these things on Ubuntu. But again, if you are comfortable with Red Hat Enterprise Linux or CentOS or any, but CentOS, I think GUI, they have GUI, but it's not very so much developed like Ubuntu or other Linux version. So you can try with those ISO images also. Most of the cases, the commands that we will be learning here, 60 to 70% commands are same on all the distribution. Only maybe 25 to 30% of the commands are little bit different. Like when we need to install certain packages in Ubuntu, we give the command like apt get install and then the package name. And in Red Hat, it is yum install and then the package name. So a little bit of difference. I will discuss these things in the coming session. So hope you have got some good knowledge about the Linux operating system that we have gone through in today's session. And maybe still, if you have many questions as a newbie, so you can definitely come up with the questions. You can let me know right now. You can ask me questions, or otherwise, if you have any questions, you can write it down and we can share and we can discuss on those questions in the next session. So if anybody has any question, you can ask me.
So basically, this session's recorded, so I would just go to the other link where we have like the workspace and all that, and I should find the recording and all the worksheets.
Yeah, correct. But generally, I think it takes a little bit of time. Just immediately, maybe it will not be available. Maybe after 2-3 hours or something.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Uh,
definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah. So you will get a link for the session, the recorded session, as well as the documents that I have shown you. You will get a copy of them also in the shared folder. Maybe a Google Drive link has already been shared with all of you. So you will get a copy of them. You can go through them. And if you have any question right now, you can ask me, or maybe any question that come up in your mind, we can discuss it in the next session. So anybody have any questions, you can ask.
Now it's
Yes,
pretty clear.
Yeah,
the Ubuntu ISO image that you downloaded,
yeah.
was it the first option or the second one? I didn't get that.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
having internet
Let
problems.
me go to that page once again.
There's two, I think there were two options there. But
Yeah.
I didn't know which one you downloaded.
Just a moment. I am showing it once again. Yeah, this page, right? Can you see this screen?
Yeah. No,
Uh,
I'm talking about the ISO image.
Okay, the iOS image of Ubuntu. Okay. Just a minute.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so this was the first page that I came from Google search by searching the keyword Ubuntu download. And here the first one was 20.04 and I downloaded this one. This green button here in the right hand side. I downloaded this one because, as I told, it will have a long time support. It is written LTS. The word LTS means long time support, which will give me update till next 5 years until 2025. Free security and maintenance update. It is written there. So that's why I have downloaded this one. Otherwise, there is another version which is more updated version, but it is a single package and there will be no update available. Though they are saying that it is with 9 months until 2022, but maybe the updates will be very less. So you can go for any of this. It's not that you have to go for this first one. If you select the second one, you can try it. You can download the second one also, and you will be able to install it in your VMware or in the VirtualBox, whatever you are using. So is that okay now?
If you did the full install of 21.04, is there a way that you could like go through that and get the update anyway? Kind of like, like if you know what you were doing, you could just like do as like a system search for an update if you did the other one.
Definitely. We have commands like as I told. So
Okay.
generally in a normal user mode, it is sudo apt-get update. So like in Microsoft, we have the Windows update. So
Okay.
similarly, in Ubuntu also, you will be able to update your operating system.
So if
So,
if I got 21.04, if I knew the command, I could just, do the command and get the update.
yeah. So we will be learning the commands in the coming session. We will have
Got it.
the basics, how we handle different files and folders, how we create files, how we view files, how we copy files. So we will be learning all those things.
So
in the coming
basically, if
session.
you know the update command, you might as well get the bottom one.
Correct, correct.
Yeah,
So
I want to ask a question. If I was going to install the standalone, I'm still going to use this same software,
uh,
right?
come again, your voice is
I was doing this,
little
if
bit
I was
low.
doing the standalone, it's the same ISO file, right?
Yeah, means if you want to do a standalone, you need the same ISO file. Maybe you need to create a bootable pen drive or a
Yeah,
DVD or whatever it is.
yeah.
So with that same file, you can install a standalone installation on your hard disks. If you have a separate partition or if you have a single partition, so you can do a standalone installation with the same image. It will work. Okay. So I think the Kelly, the question that you asked, have you got the answer?
Yes, yes, you did. And
Okay. So
actually,
yeah,
I
any
want. Mhm.
okay. Any more questions or queries?
Is there a web page or something where I could get like the CentOS like commands, like like just like a list of commands, or like a list of like Ubuntu commands, just to have a list in front of me.
Okay, I will get such list even during this
Oh, okay.
session, during this class. I will provide those materials. Well, we will have a collection of commands of different activities that we will be learning. So I will be providing those materials to you, to all of you.
Okay, no problem. I was just wondering if there's a place I could get that list. All right, that's no problem.
I have
Okay.
one last question, so just
Yeah,
clarification.
yeah.
I already have VirtualBox in my laptop, so I
What
just
is the
need to
version? Do
the
you know the
latest
version?
version, the latest
Okay,
version.
let us. Okay. Very good.
So I guess my next question is, I still need to download the Ubuntu ISO files or just the image?
If you already have the VirtualBox, the easiest will be the image, the last link
Okay.
that I have shown you.
Okay.
If you download, but at the time of download the right image, not the VMware image, download the VirtualBox image. So download the VirtualBox image that will open with your VirtualBox, because if you
Okay.
mistakenly download the VMware image, it will not open in your VirtualBox. Okay.
Okay.
So that will be the easiest way, because you will not need to set up the parameters when you need to install it through the ISO image. You need to set up hard disk size, you need to set up RAM, how much RAM you want to allot. So nothing will be asked. It will automatically take up the settings and it will come up on your screen. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Understand.
So,
Thank you.
if anybody has
I
any
have.
more questions, yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine want to join the class, but they can't find the link.
Okay. So he has already got an admission on this 4 weeks training program.
Sorry.
Means he is already registered with this class as a registered user for this 4 weeks training program.
No, not yet.
Okay, so he needs to register, right?
Right, but the option to register wasn't there, according to my friend.
Okay. So I will ask. So it is Callie's friend, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I will ask the people who are taking care of this training program. I will let them know to contact you, so that they can solve the issue why the link is not there, because there are certain people who are taking care of those things. So I will let them know, and they will contact you, and you can tell the issue why he is not getting the link, so that he can join the class also. Okay. So
Okay,
thank you,
sure.
thank you all for joining today's session, and hope you have got some knowledge on Linux, introduction on Linux, and we will be learning many more things regarding operating Linux operating system on a day-to-day basis, and how to handle things in Linux in the coming session. So till then, thank you for joining the session, and we will be again meeting day after tomorrow, right at the same time.
All right, no
Thank
problem.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Um,
Bye. Bye.
I'm leaving too.